food.
A review into food waste in Australia's quick service restaurants has found substantial over-ordering and order mistakes are the biggest driver of food waste. Look, all of us are concerned about food waste, I know, but the numbers in this sector are quite staggering. The quick service restaurant sector includes fast food and takeaway outlets that serve, fast, quickly prepared meals with minimal table service. Foods like buns, fries, vegetables were most likely to be thrown out. Wrong orders or returns, over-ordering, over-preparing, dropped and spilled food also reported as big causes. But the cost of it all is surprisingly huge. Australia loses something like $36.5 billion to wasted food each year. That's about 1.4% of GDP. It's quite extraordinary figures. So what can be done? A plan was developed by RMIT University for End Food Waste Australia to try and help businesses mitigate back-of-house food waste. And the lead researcher and co-author of the plan was Associate Professor Liping Thong, who joins us this evening. Liping, good evening to you. Welcome to Nightlife.
Good evening, Phil. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us too. That's an eye-watering number. $36.5 billion a year lost in food waste.
Yeah, it's absolutely staggering.
I know. If I'm trying to picture how much food that would be, do you have a mental picture of how much that would be? Would it be an entire MCG of food?
It would be I wouldn't be able to suss that out, but I'll give her a context. I think something that we could relate to. So it's the land equivalent of 27.3 million hectares. That's the size of the landmass that we use to grow food that is ultimately wasted, that didn't make it into our plate. So that, for context, is the landmass equivalent of the size of the entire state of Victoria. Massive amount of food waste.
The entire state of Victoria, if you think about it, that was used to grow food or produce food that gets chucked out.
Yep. And then it's not just the food that just gets chucked, that's the food wastage, but also all the resources that's put into growing the food, delivering the food, and all the logistics around it. So the amount of resources being used to food that ultimately goes to waste. So that's staggering, that figure.
It's completely staggering. So that would amount to, I don't know what, every second meal in these places.
Yeah. So that's 36.6 billion annually, as you mentioned. And takeaway and QSRs, they contribute to 40% of the hospitality waste in total. So that's 100,600 tons annually of food waste by the sector alone.
Say that again, how many tons?
130,600 tons.
130,000 tons of food. Where does it go, Liping?
It mostly goes to landfill, but there are a lot of people and organizations also doing quiet work as well in actually trying to, first of all,
Oz Harvest and those
Oz Harvest, Second Bite, Food Bank, those organizations, they're doing really fantastic work around it in trying to redirect those food waste to people, for example, experiencing food insecurity. We could redirect that if it's perfectly edible. And of course, there's also the other option as well, which is to, first of all, reduce or even mitigate the food waste in the first instance.
Yeah, what's the stuff? You think of it. We talk about it as a cost issue, but your report talks about people and planet and profit and beyond prices. The wider impacts of all this. This wasted effort. Well, I know. I suppose. Well, there are plenty of hungry people in Australia.
Yeah,
but it's not so much that issue, is it? It's just the wasted effort and the wasted resource.
That's the wasted effort. And then, first of all, there's also the environmental issue as well, which I believe like many of us are very passionate about. So we wanted to look at it not just economically. So 36.6 billion, as we established, is pretty staggering. But it's not just the ingredient being wasted at a business level. So they're also, as you mentioned, like resources, right? So they're losing labor. Businesses are losing preparation time, refrigeration, and all the disposal costs as well. So it represents like a broader operational inefficiency, really. But also, when we think about the environment as well, food waste contributes to greenhouse emissions. So it depletes our resources, water consumption, and all of that jazz. So the land and the water and energy required before the food even reaches the restaurants is all depleted. We're just using all these resources. And then the third piece that is really very important is the social aspect as well. very interesting tension. So the food is being lost through business operations, but yet the Food Bank Hunger Report every year, their figures are very depressing, really. Like food insecurity remains a major issue. So the food waste is not only environmental or business issue, but increasingly it really is a societal issue as well. So when we reduce food waste, we create benefit across all three dimensions, really.
Yeah, of course. Takeaway outlets account for, you say, 40% of hospitality food waste.
Yep.
I mean, what is it about these fast food environments that creates these kind of food waste challenges? I mean, I thought these were supposed to be lean and mean operations.
Well, it's very difficult to be lean and mean because, like, especially in fast food, it's quite challenging, really, because the food is literally called fast food, right? So it's food is moving really rapidly through ordering and preparation and service and increasingly even delivery systems. So they move really quick, especially during like the rush and the peak hours. So they're trying to maintain speed whilst also being able to maintain quality and all that food safety requirements and protocols and operations. So so that accounts for, I guess, one of the reasons on why it creates like a challenge for them, especially in the fast food area and more broadly the quick service restaurants sector. But then there's also the other aspect of it, which we find quite interesting in the research findings, is that there is a fluctuation in customer demand as well. So that there is obviously busy periods, but equally there are also very quiet periods as well. So you have both ends of the spectrum, like the unexpected rushes and then the changing consumer patterns. So there are instances where the food waste occurs not just during the rush, but also like stock ordering, storage, they over prepare and all of that. So it is an accumulative kind of thing. It just adds up throughout the day and throughout all the outlets. So resulting in like this cumulative effect of staggering food waste.
Your researchers went into these restaurants and watched what was happening. What surprised you most about what they saw?
Yeah, I think like the one key thing that we took away from was that the food waste is not really an end of day issue. So we always think that when we think about food waste, like food leftovers on a plate or trays, that's what we think of.
Well, that's some of it, yeah.
Yeah, at closing time, that's some of it, and then at the end of day waste definitely exists. But what emerged from observations and fieldwork from our researchers is that it trickles throughout the entire day, throughout operations. So this could be things such as like a wrong order, a customer return, or food that they prepare in anticipation of demand that never arrives, like a quiet day, like a rainy day, for example, that less customers, so, or even like a really rush moments during service, like so lettuce on the ground, offcuts like buns like in the bin, so and even like things like a forecasting mismatch, they prep too much and then there's too much left over at the end of the day, so it becomes very incremental. And then that happens throughout the entire day, and that's one of the surprising findings. It's not just end of day, but it's throughout the day.
Bread rolls or buns, chips or fries, and vegetables were the most wasted foods. Why, do you think?
Yeah, I think like it's because from the research finding, it's because they fall into the perishable category. And it's also part of the intensity of the operations once again. Now, buns, for example, they are bakery products and they have a shorter shelf life. So freshness expectations, the shelf life windows is a lot shorter. So if the demands doesn't align with stock levels, so that's where the waste would occur. And of course, like, fries, they're very interesting because they have a shorter holding requirements as well. So they're prepared very quickly and the turnover is rather high. So there's limits around like the freshness and quality of fries. And personally, I think that sometimes the portions of fries are too generous. So there's a lot left on the plates as well.
Okay.
And then of course
everyone gets too much rice.
I can't finish my fries all the time. So, and then there's of course like vegetables. Those are fresh produce, so they're more vulnerable to spoilage and storage conditions. So they're very highly used ingredients as well within the QSR business. So naturally, I think that creates like a higher number as well in terms of ingredients.
Yes, I said rice. You were talking about fries. But there may be a similar thing in rice too, I suspect. You found that staff want to cut waste. You also found 70% of staff said they'd received some food waste training.
Yeah,
But they're not really in charge of it, are they? I mean, if there are presumably protocols in the restaurant that say, if a bun's been out for half a day, is not bought, chuck it out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's one of the findings. So we've done national surveys between staff, managers, and operators, and then we also did observations and fieldwork and have a chat as well with our staff, with the staff across outlets as well. And then I think there's a bit of a gap between, like, so there's things coming down from corporate and all of that about like you have to chuck it out. This is the holding time. There's protocols and all of that. But then it featured out I think it's quite encouraging as well, is that staff, they actually want to reduce food waste. So they're actually very motivated. They want to do the right thing. They absolutely do. So the issue here is not motivation. And then it's really more about capability. And then the support that they receive and the reinforcement, because what we find in the research findings is that they get a lot of onboarding training when they first start, and that's the recurring theme. But then what they're saying is that they receive less refresher and ongoing training. So the relationships between that and active food waste management, I think like that's a missed opportunity. I think maybe that's something that as a sector collectively we could actually encourage more on.
You also think that you should tying food waste targets to performance reviews would be a good thing too.
Yeah, I think that's something that it could be tangibly done. Because like one of the opportunity here is visibility. Now, if the food waste is not measured, it will remain invisible. We can't see it. So if the businesses actually start tracking, like proactively track food waste more consistently, we'll be able to identify the hotspots a lot more. And then it would actually create opportunities for change, because like it shifts food waste away from being perceived as something that is an unavoidable byproduct of business. Yeah. So they can actually monitor it and they can manage it, and then actually encourage people to do the right thing across all the outlets.
Finally, if you could get every fast food outlet in Australia to do just one thing differently, starting tomorrow, what would it be?
I think like the missed opportunity here, as mentioned earlier, I think that the key thing is training. I think that's the one thing that we could do very quickly. Ongoing food waste training and refresher training, because that's the main key thing that the staff want to do. They want to reduce waste. So it's not unwillingness, like they want to support. So they are the closest to the problems. They know exactly where the friction points are. So I would actually start with the staff and equipping them with the skills and knowledge to prevent and then to respond to food waste in a very tangible way.
Yeah, there was once a time, I suppose, if you ordered something, they said, okay, I'll go and cook it. But that sort of thing is not acceptable anymore.
Yeah. I think the protocols are pretty strict these days. Yeah.
Li Ping, it's been terrific to talk. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Li Ping Thong is Associate Professor at RMIT.
You've been listening to a Nightlife podcast. For more great conversations about the issues that impact you, as well as features on travel and food, head to the Nightlife webpage. You'll find it at abc.net.au/nightlife. You don't need to be a night owl to enjoy the nightlife.